I died when a billboard reading "Find Your Perfect Job" fell on me. I woke beneath another sign while 300 students laughed at the only job I had received, secretary. The laughter rolled through the marble hall and struck me harder than the billboard had. Students in red combat coats pointed at the gray badge in my hand. Teachers watched from a raised platform. A tall boy with gold hair laughed so hard that he had to lean on his sword. "A secretary," he said. "Give him a mop. At least paper cannot fight back." His name entered my borrowed memories a second later. Knox, level 12, son of the merchant who had donated the new arena. My own name was Ezra, and this body remembered that the ceremony would not end well for me. Instructor Hugo stood beside the class crystal. He wore black armor over a stomach shaped like a barrel. One hand rested on the crystal. The other held a bronze combat badge that should have been mine. The crystal still contained a pale silver flame. "The result is clear," Hugo announced. "Ezra has no combat affinity. His strength is 4, his mana is 6, his class is unsuitable for field training." The silver flame flashed again. A small number appeared inside it before Hugo covered the crystal with his glove. 72. I had seen it. So had the girl standing beside the student council banner. She had dark hair, calm gray eyes, and an ink mark on her thumb. Unlike everyone else, she was not laughing. "That was not 0, she said. The hall became quieter. Hugo turned toward her. "Cleo, you are here to record the result, not interpret it." "I recorded 72. Knox stopped laughing. His hand closed around a new bronze badge identical to the one Hugo was holding. I understood the trick. The academy had one combat place left. A second badge would put Knox in the elite track. I was an orphan with no sponsor. Hugo tapped the crystal. The silver light vanished. "A damaged reading," he said. "The official result is 0. Whispers moved through the students. Most looked relieved that the victim was not them. Opal, the president of the student council, sat at the center table. Her blue uniform was perfect, but her fingers tightened around a closed black journal. "The council secretary resigned last night," Hugo continued. "Academy law requires every student to hold a useful position. Ezra will take the vacant office." He lifted a stack of papers. "The office also carries 600 silver coins of unpaid liability. The current secretary is responsible for council inventory, including inventory lost by the previous holder." The laughter returned twice as loud. 600 silver coins was more than a common teacher earned in 2 years. The old Ezra had owned 3 copper coins and 1 shirt without holes. Hugo was not giving me a job. He was tying a stone to my ankles and asking the lake to solve the paperwork. Knox stepped close enough for the crowd to see his smile. "You should thank us," he said. "Most useless students are expelled." I looked at the combat badge in his hand, then at Hugo. "Where do I sign?" The laughter broke apart. Hugo had expected tears. Knox had expected anger. Calm agreement left them staring at me. Cleo watched me more carefully. Hugo pushed the paper across the table. At the bottom, I read every line. On Earth, I had managed deliveries for people who believed the word urgent could make a truck fly. Small print was a knife wearing clean clothes. The contract gave me responsibility for the debt, but also authority to issue assignments, manage rewards, validate work, and receive the officer commission on recovered resources. That was more useful than a sword badge. I signed Ezra in steady letters. The gray badge warmed in my palm. A voice spoke inside my head. It did not arrive in a blue window. It sounded like a bell heard through deep water. It told me that I had accepted the lowest office while understanding its burden. A hidden class had awakened. My class was Questmaker. I kept my face still. Any fair assignment with a measurable goal, a deadline, and a council-owned reward would become a true system quest when a student accepted it. I would receive 1/10 of the experience earned by every participant. A knowingly unfair assignment would cost me 1 class level, 1 ability, 4 limits. It was enough. "Are you frightened now?" Knox asked. "No," I said. "I was counting." "Counting what?" "How much your badge cost me." Several students made small choking sounds. Knox's smile flattened. Hugo pointed toward a side door. "Remove him. The ceremony will continue." Cleo led me through the crowd while hundreds of eyes followed us. The ranking board above the exit flashed. Knox rose to rank 42. My name fell to rank 1284. Last place. I memorized both numbers. The council office was under the eastern stairs. It had 1 narrow window, 2 broken chairs, and enough dust to train an army of very small soldiers. Cleo lifted the fallen sign. Student Council Assignment Office. Where are they? Gone. She said it without drama. That made the word heavier. I opened the storage cupboard. 3 copper coins sat in a bowl. Beside them were 2 meal chits, 1 weak monotonic, and 187 blank assignment forms. The shelves below were empty. 600 silver in debt, I said. 3 copper in cash. Correct. We are not poor. Poor people own fewer negative numbers. Cleo covered a smile with the inventory ledger. I checked every shelf and scrap of paper. Cleo had served as assistant secretary for 6 months. She had stayed because the council paid for her room and because someone needed to protect the records from mice. Why did you speak at the ceremony? I asked. The crystal showed 72. That answer may be too simple for this academy. Then the academy is the problem. That was when I first trusted her. The door opened before I could reply. A small girl in a patched green coat entered with a mop in one hand and an expulsion notice in the other. Her name was Juno. Her public rank was 1,283, 1 place above mine. Instructor Hugo sent me, she said. He said the new secretary needed someone equally useless. Her voice did not shake, but the paper did. Cleo took the notice. You need 100 experience before sunset. Juno nodded. The training teams will not accept me. She raised one finger. A thin thread of white mana stretched from it to the mop handle. Mana thread, it can pull 5 pounds. Nox could probably cut a training golem in half. Juno could move a heavy soup pot without touching it. The academy had decided only one of those talents deserved experience. I looked at the stack of uncompleted work orders. The top page reported blue slime leaking from a sewer chamber below the dining hall. A red stamp marked the assignment as completed by Nox 3 days earlier. I put 1 blank form on the desk. Ezra, Cleo said quietly, the council has no money for a reward. I placed the 2 meal chits and the weak monotonic beside the form. It has these. Those are our lunches. Then we should make the assignment work before we become hungry. I wrote a measurable goal. Juno had to clear the first sewer chamber, recover 10 cores, and return before sunset. The reward was 2 hot meals and 1 weak monotonic. Cleo would witness it. I would validate it. I read it twice. The risk was real, but not greater than her ability. Do you accept? I asked. Juno stared at the paper. Will writing my name really help? It will give you a fair chance. You still have to win. She swallowed and signed. The gray badge flashed. A clear bell rang through the office. Golden letters flowed across the paper, sank into the fibers, and vanished. Juno gasped. Cleo dropped the ledger. The system voice announced Juno's official quest, objective, reward, and deadline. For 3 silent seconds, none of us moved. Then Cleo grabbed my sleeve. Only Royal Guild cores can do that. Apparently the system respects stationery. Paper does not create quests. That is fortunate. We own 186 more sheets. Juno laughed once. It sounded surprised, as if the noise had escaped without permission. We reached the sewer 20 minutes later. The smell of roasted onions floated through the grate. The sewer smelled like the onions had lost a war. Juno tied a small kitchen knife to her mana thread. Her hand trembled. Do not fight the whole chamber, I told her. Fight the nearest slime, then the next. What if they rush me? Step onto the narrow rail, they cannot climb iron. Cleo and I will pull you out if the rail breaks. Cleo looked at the rusted rail. That promise needs a larger reward. The first slime rolled from a drain, blue and angry in the way only a wet ball could be angry. Juno flicked her finger. The knife flew low and struck its core. The slime collapsed. The system awarded her 10 experience. 1 point of warm light entered my gray badge. I had received exactly 1/10. My heartbeat became very calm. Again, I said. 3 slimes came next. Juno swung the knife in a wide circle. 2 cores cracked. Cleo struck the 3rd slime with the mop. Witnesses are not supposed to help, I said. Then stop witnessing me. Juno cut the 3rd core while laughing. After the 5th slime, her thread could pull 7 pounds. After the 8th, it divided. Each kill gave her 10 experience and gave me 1. The system recognized real work, not free strength. The academy had ignored that work because powerful people only respected swords. The 10th core hit the floor. Juno reached 100 experience. White light wrapped around her arms. Her level rose from 1 to 2, then stopped just short of 3. Her mana thread divided into 3 bright lines. My 10th point arrived at the same moment. My hidden class rose to level 2. My mana increased by 4. My authority increased by 1. The quest did not finish. Cleo looked at the glowing paper. The goal said every slime in the chamber. A pipe at the far wall bulged outward. Yes, I said. Knox reported this chamber clear 3 days ago. The pipe burst. Blue slime poured across the floor. A queen the size of a carriage squeezed through the wall. It wore 3 broken kitchen trays like armor and had a dining chair trapped inside its body. It looked like a refrigerator with anger issues. Juno stepped back. That is not a normal slime. No, I agreed. It is also blocking the exit. Students heard the crash and crowded around the dining hall grate. We had witnesses now. The queen fired blue gel. Juno caught a pipe and pulled herself aside. The gel removed a patch of stone. Its core is behind the chair, Cleo shouted. Juno sent her knife forward. It bounced from a metal tray. The watching students yelled that the useless thread girl was about to die. Juno had 3 threads with a 7-pound limit. The chair was too heavy, but no rule said she had to pull it in one piece. Tie 1 thread to each chair leg, I said. Do not pull backward. Pull apart. Juno understood. The queen rolled toward us. 3 white lines flashed through its body and wrapped around the chair. Juno spread her fingers. The chair broke into 3 pieces. The core appeared. Her knife struck it. The queen exploded upward through the dining hall grate. A wave of blue gel covered 6 tables and Knox, who had arrived wearing a white coat. He stood with a cabbage leaf on his head and a spoon stuck to his chest. The hall became silent. Juno climbed through the broken grate holding the queen's core. Cleo followed. I came last. The quest bell rang across the entire dining hall. The system confirmed that Juno had cleared the chamber and recovered 24 cores. She received the promised meals, tonic, and 200 total experience. Her level rose to 3. I received 20 experience. My hidden class remained level 2, but my experience bar moved more in 1 hour than the old Ezra had managed in a year. No one laughed. Opal entered with 3 council members. Her gaze moved from Juno to the Queen Core, then to Knox. Your report states that you destroyed every slime, she said. Blue gel dripped from Knox's nose. They came back. Cleo held up the smaller cores. Each one carried a black scorch mark. These were alive when Knox burned the entrance, she said. The report was signed without inspection. The public ranking board flashed above the dining hall door. Knox lost 30 merit points. His rank fell from 42 to 69. Juno rose from 1,283 to 910. My name rose from last place to 817. 300 students watched it happen. Hugo arrived late. He looked at the broken grate, the slime-covered tables, and Knox's cabbage crown. This was an unauthorized operation, he said. I handed him the completed form. The academy seal glowed gold at the bottom. Council law gives the secretary authority to issue assignments. You made me secretary in front of 300 witnesses. The same crowd turned toward Hugo. His face tightened. He could deny my class result. He could not deny his own public order without admitting he had abused it. Opal took the form from me. The quest is valid. Knox tried to step forward. His boots slipped in the slime, and he sat down with a wet sound. This time the entire dining hall laughed at him. By evening, the cores sold for 24 silver. 20 reduced the debt to 580. 4 became my commission. I had started with 3 copper and rank 1,284. I ended at level 2, with 4 silver and students waiting outside my office. Strength, resources, reputation. All 3 had moved. I closed the office before the line reached the stairs. One unfair assignment could erase a level. I needed facts, rewards, and time. Cleo pushed one of the meal chits back across the desk. You paid both of these to Juno. Juno placed it between us. The dining hall gave me 2 trays. I cannot eat both. We shared dinner in the small office. The stew was thick with beef, potatoes, and soft carrots. Steam carried the smell of pepper and roasted garlic. We tore a round loaf into pieces, spread yellow butter over the hot center, and watched it melt into the bread. Cleo found a jar of honey behind the ledgers and added 1 spoon to each cup of tea. For 10 quiet minutes, the academy did not feel hostile. When Juno left, Cleo remained beside the window. You knew it would work, she said. I knew the conditions were correct. That is not the same thing. It is close enough to begin. She looked at me for a long moment. The old Ezra would have cried after the ceremony. The room became very still. The old Ezra had a worse morning than I did, I said. At midnight, the bottom drawer opened by itself. A black journal rose from it and landed on the desk. It was the same journal Opal had held during the ceremony. I touched the cover. The gray badge burned cold. The system voice announced that the secretary had opened a legacy assignment. The quest was mandatory. I had to defeat the owner of the academy before the fifth sunset. The reward had already been deposited. The reward was Raven Academy. Failure would transfer the academy, its dungeon, and every student contract to the Imperial Academy Board. One final line appeared in silver ink. The current owner and quest target was Director Theo. The office door creaked. Director Theo stood in the dark corridor. He was a thin man with white hair and a sword at his hip. His eyes rested on the open journal. "So it chose another secretary," he said. "Try not to die before morning." Theo left before I could ask whether that was advice or a threat. The black journal would not close. Silver ink remained on the final page, counting down to the fifth sunset. I had 4 days to defeat a man whose level was hidden from the public board. The reward was an academy worth more than 10,000 gold. I could not have promised that reward myself, which meant someone had placed the entire school inside a quest before I was born. Cleo read the page over my shoulder. "We should tell Opal," she said. "She already knew the journal existed." "That does not mean she knew it would name you." I covered the page with a cloth. "We tell her after we learn why she hid it." The second morning began with 62 students outside our office. Some wanted monster hunts. Some wanted experience for cleaning dormitories. One boy offered to pay me 3 copper if I wrote a quest requiring him to eat breakfast. I told him the system had standards and sent him to class. Juno stood beside the door in a clean green coat. 3 mana threads held forms, ink, and a cup of tea around her at the same time. Students stared at her new level on the ranking board. The story of the Slime Queen had crossed the dormitories before sunrise. In one version, Juno had killed a sea dragon. In another, I had defeated it with a pen. The truth was less impressive and more useful. We had 4 silver coins, 3 copper coins, 186 forms, and 580 silver of debt. Every quest needed a real reward. If I tried to satisfy 62 people before building resources, I would destroy my class before lunch. I opened the office window. "There will be no personal quests today," I told the crowd. Groans answered me. "I can fund one group assignment. Students willing to work together may remain." Half the line left immediately. That saved me time. Hugo arrived before the rest could sign anything. Knox followed him in a clean uniform and boots that still had blue stains around the edges. The crowd parted. Hugo nailed a red order across our sign. "The assignment office is frozen pending review," he announced. "Yesterday's damage cost the Academy 30 silver. Until the secretary proves financial competence, he may not spend council funds or use Academy training property." Knox smiled at Juno. "Enjoy your last 3 threads." Hugo's order was clever. He had not denied that my quest worked. Too many people had seen it. Instead, he had blocked the rewards needed to create another one. "What must I prove?" I asked. "That your office can produce more value than it consumes." "How much value?" Hugo hesitated. He had expected a protest, not a measurement. 100 silver before the tournament, he said. "And when is the tournament?" 3 days from now. Please add both conditions to the order." Students began whispering. Hugo could not change the target later if it was written publicly. He took the red page down, added the amount and deadline, then pressed his seal into the wax. "It changes nothing," he said. "F class has never produced 100 silver in a month." His motive was not difficult to understand. Raven Academy received 1,000 silver each year if its first team placed in the Imperial Tournament. Hugo had built his career by feeding potions, weapons, and training time to the strongest students. Every coin given to F-Class looked like a coin stolen from that grant. He was wrong, but he was not stupid. "May I retain existing council property?" I asked. "You have no useful property." That was not my question. Hugo looked at the watching students. "You may keep whatever worthless property your office already controls." "Cleo, record that." Her pen moved at once. Knox frowned. Hugo did not. He still thought he had won. After they left, I locked the door and spread every property record across the floor. Cleo searched the current ledger. Juno used her threads to pull old files from the highest shelves. Dust filled the office until we all looked 10 years older. 2 hours later, Juno sneezed and dropped a leather map onto my head. It showed the abandoned Eastern Training Yard. The yard had been closed for 5 years after a shield post cracked. Its land belonged to the academy, but an old charter assigned 50 hours of annual access to the student council. Nobody had used those hours because the yard was unsafe. Hugo had blocked academy training property. He had not blocked a right the council already owned. A right is not a potion, Cleo said. It exists. It belongs to us. Students want it. I placed the charter beside a fresh form. The group objective was to restore 6 shield posts, remove the debris, and pass the yard's safety trial before sunset. The reward was 50 hours of exclusive training access, divided equally among all participants. 18 F-class students signed. The gray badge flashed. For one breath, nothing happened. Then the academy bell rang 18 times. The system recognized the council's access right as a valid reward. It locked the 50 hours into the quest and marked every participant. The students shouted so loudly that dust fell from the ceiling. Cleo stared at the charter. You can use permissions as rewards. Only permissions we already control, I said. We cannot spend air and call it gold. That limit made the discovery stronger, not weaker. The council owned library access, workshop reservations, meal priority, tournament entry rights, and dozens of forgotten privileges. Hugo had frozen our coins. He had left a vault of invisible property untouched. The eastern yard looked like a giant had used it as a laundry basket. Broken shields, stone blocks, and rusted practice weapons covered the ground. 6 black posts surrounded a circular arena. 5 leaned, 1 lay in a pond. Nearly 200 students gathered on the walls to watch F-class fail. Knox sat in the front row with his boots on the railing. Try not to repair it with soup. Juno lifted 3 hammers with her threads. Try not to fall into anything blue. The crowd laughed. Knox lowered his boots. I divided the work by skills, not class rank. Students with earth magic reset the post foundations. Wind users cleared dust from the runes. 2 healers treated cut hands and strained backs. Juno passed tools over broken ground faster than 3 workers could carry them. The quest rewarded effort the moment it produced a verified result. The first repaired post gave each worker 25 experience. Golden light rose around 5 students who had never completed an official quest. The spectators stopped laughing. The second post activated. 7 more students gained 25 experience. 1 rose to level 2 in front of the wall. Warmth entered my badge from every participant. 2 points, 3, 5. The stream did not come from one hero. It came from 18 people who had been told they were worthless. By midday, my class reached level 3. When the 4th post rose, it reached level 4. The ranking board at the main tower began updating every few minutes. F-class names climbed by tens and then hundreds of places. Students left their lessons to see why. Teachers appeared on the wall. Even Opal arrived holding the black journal under one arm. Hugo came last. Repair is not enough, he called from the observation stand. The charter requires a combat safety trial. We know, I said. Then begin it. Cleo checked the yard manual. The trial beast is normally selected according to the participant's average level. Hugo smiled. The manual also permits the training director to choose a stronger beast when evaluating a closed facility. The iron gate opened. A metal boar stepped into the arena. It stood 6 feet high at the shoulder. Red runes glowed under plates thick enough to stop a spear. Steam poured from its nose. It looked like a cooking pot that had learned to hate families. The crowd moved back from the wall. A Class C iron boar, Cleo said. Its charge can break a shield post. If the participants failed, they would lose the reward. If I had knowingly given them an impossible assignment, I would lose a class level. Hugo had changed the test after acceptance, but my badge still pulsed with warning. The system did not care whose fault unfairness was. I had issued the quest. I owned the risk. 18 students looked at me. We can stop, I said. No shame. The reward will return to the council. Juno watched the boar tear a stone target from the ground. Can the repaired posts hold it? 1 cannot. What about 6? I looked at the circle. The posts were not walls. Together, they projected a training barrier. The boar had been chosen to test the entire yard, not one fighter. 6 can, I said. No one withdrew. The safety trial began. The boar charged the nearest student. Earth users raised a low ridge. It did not stop the beast. It changed the angle of one hoof. Wind users struck from the other side. The boar turned 3 feet and passed the student close enough to tear his sleeve. The spectators screamed. Do not attack the armor, I called. Turn it between the posts. Juno sent threads around a red flag and pulled it across the arena. The boar followed motion. It charged the flag, crossed the first rune line, and struck the barrier between two repaired posts. Blue light flashed. The boar bounced sideways. The wall erupted in cheers. We repeated the movement. Earth changed one step. Wind changed another. Juno moved the target. Healers kept everyone standing. Each student did something small enough to succeed. After the third collision, a plate fell from the boar's side. After the fifth, its front rune flickered. Nox jumped from the observation stand. "This proves nothing," he shouted. "They are hiding behind equipment." "It is a safety test for the equipment," Opal said. "A real team could stop it directly." He drew his sword and entered the yard before Hugo could answer. The crowd shouted his name. Nox planted himself in the center and raised a golden guard skill. "Send it at me." I did not control the boar. Juno did control the flag. She looked at me. "Keep it away from him," I said. "He is not a quest participant." Nox heard me and flushed. "I do not need your quest." He struck the boar's exposed side. The blade rang. The boar turned. Its horn caught the back of his tournament coat without touching his body. 1 second later, Nox was traveling around the arena like a white flag on a very angry ship. The crowd made one long sound. The boar crossed the final rune line. All 6 posts activated. A cage of blue light closed around it. The beast stopped with Nox hanging from its horn and his boots 6 inches above the ground. The safety bell rang. 18 students completed the group quest before nearly 400 witnesses. Each participant earned 100 experience from the repair and trial. Some rose 1 level. 5 rose 2. Juno reached level 5 and gained a 4th mana thread. I received 180 experience in total. My class climbed from level 4 to level 7. My mana rose by 12. My authority doubled. The public ranking board flashed again. My name moved from 817 to 412. Hugo stood beneath it with his mouth closed. The 50 hours of access divided among the participants. Their names appeared on the yard seal. Hugo tried to place his hand on the control stone. It rejected him with a burst of blue light that blew his black cape over his head. The laughter was immediate. He pulled the cape down. "The office still has not produced 100 silver." Cleo held up the property ledger. Restoring the yard activated its maintenance reserve. Opal opened the academy account book. 5 years of unused reserve had accumulated behind the closed facility. The amount was 150 silver. 20 silver purchased new tools for the yard. 130 reduced our liability from 580 to 450 silver. Hugo's written condition had been satisfied 2 days early. The red freeze order burned away on our office sign. Students on the wall began chanting the name of F class. Not mine. Theirs. That mattered more. A useful leader did not need every cheer to point at his own face. Hugo removed Nox from the boar's horn. Then he faced me under the ranking board. "You used an old accounting trick. We repaired a training yard and passed your trial. You will not repair your way through a real tournament. Then stop moving the tournament and let us train." His eyes hardened. He had been challenged in public, and his entire method depended on public results. "Very well," he said. "The academy tournament begins tomorrow morning. F-class will enter as one team. If they lose the first round, the assignment office closes permanently." The cheers died. Opal stepped forward. "The scheduled date is 2 days away. The training director may move it for funding review," Hugo said. "My order will be on the main board within the hour." He walked out while the spectators whispered. He had lost the yard, but he had chosen the next battlefield. We ate dinner on the newly repaired steps. The dining hall sent bowls of garlic broth filled with soft noodles, sliced egg, roasted pork, and bright green onions. The broth warmed my hands through the bowl. Juno ate enough for 2 people and claimed leveling had made her stomach stronger. Cleo sat beside me with our shoulders almost touching. "You gained 5 levels today," she said, "and no sword skill. Does that bother you?" "A sword can defeat 1 opponent. A fair assignment can raise 18 allies." She gave me a pair of work gloves. She had repaired the torn fingers with black thread. "Then protect the hands that write them." I put the gloves on. They fit perfectly. Opal waited until the other students left. She placed the black journal between us. "I hid this before the ceremony," she said. "It returned to your drawer because the legacy quest follows the office, not the book. 3 previous secretaries opened it. 1 fled, 2 disappeared. Theo was the final person seen with each of them." "Why keep appointing secretaries?" I asked. "Academy law requires the office." Hugo forced the appointment before I could stop him. The journal's silver deadline continued moving toward the 5th sunset. "What happens if I defeat Theo?" Opal looked toward the director's tower. "No one knows." A blade cut through the iron post beside us. The upper half slid to the ground. Ria stood beyond it in a red coat, holding a narrow silver sword. She was captain of the Academy's first team and public rank 1. Behind her, Hugo's new tournament notice burned on the wall. The first bracket placed F class against Ria's team. "I do not agree with Hugo," she said, "but I will not lose on purpose." Her sword returned to its sheath. The repaired post fell between us with a crash. By sunrise, someone had carried the broken post to the main hall and written F class across it in red paint. Students touched it for luck on the way to the arena. Yesterday, they had laughed when we repaired the yard. Now they repeated every rumor about our quest as if they had helped write it. The tournament stands held more than 1,000 people. A crystal scoreboard floated above the arena. 8 team names burned across it. F class appeared at the bottom in gray. First team appeared at the top in gold. Hugo stood in the judge's tower. His black cape was longer than yesterday. A man who had lost an argument to a training yard apparently believed more cloth would help. Knox waited below him in a reserve coat. Ria had removed him from her active roster that morning. "A false report makes you a risk to the team," she had told him in front of the entrance line. Knox had pointed at me. "He made me look guilty." "The slimes made you look blue," Ria had replied. "The report made you guilty." That exchange had already reached the food stalls. My 18 students gathered in the preparation room. Some wore repaired leather. Some had wooden shields. One healer had brought a kitchen pot as a helmet. It was not a dangerous choice, but every time he turned his head, the handle struck the wall. "We cannot beat Ria," one student said. "Correct," I replied. 18 frightened faces turned toward me. "None of you can beat Ria alone. That is not today's objective." Opal placed the council charter on the table. She had found a reward large enough for the tournament. The council controlled the title of Academy Vanguard, 30 merit points for every title holder, and 1 month of priority access to the basic workshop. Those rights already existed. Once awarded, even Hugo could not withdraw them without a disciplinary trial. I wrote one group assignment. The objective was to win the Academy tournament without abandoning a teammate. Every participant had to perform a declared role. A fallen student could be removed for safety, but no active member could be left isolated for more than 30 seconds. The condition looked soft. It was not. 18 weak students could become a crowd very quickly. A crowd ran in 18 directions. A team did not. Each student stated a role before signing: shield, healer, scout, earth control, wind control, distraction. Juno signed as field link. Her 4 threads could pass signals faster than shouting. The system accepted the assignment. Golden light connected every signature. Then the voice added something I had not written. Because the roles depended on one another, completion credit would be shared across the linked objective. A healer would receive experience when healing enabled a victory. A shield bearer would receive it when a protected attacker scored. Support work would no longer vanish simply because a sword landed the final hit. My hidden class reached toward its next stage. At level 10, Quest Maker could evolve into Student Commander. The ability would remain the same. Only the number of participants I could safely coordinate would increase. "No free strength," I told them. "The quest will count your work. It will not do your work." Juno raised 4 glowing threads. "Then we give it something to count." The first match was a bell capture. Each team had 1 silver bell on a stone pillar. Taking the enemy bell or disabling every enemy fighter produced victory. Hugo announced F-class first. The crowd cheered. He waited for the noise to fade. "As stated in my review order, a first-round loss will close the assignment office." Boos came from the eastern stand. The students who had watched us repair the yard were no longer neutral. Hugo's jaw tightened. "First team will face them." Ria entered with 4 fighters. Their combined levels totaled 112. Our 18 levels totaled 59. The crystal scoreboard displayed both numbers. Knox laughed from the judge's stare. "It will take longer to clean the arena than win the match." The starting bell rang. Ria crossed half the field before its echo ended. She did not move like a person. She became a silver line. 3 of our shield bearers flew backward before they raised their guards. Her teammates struck the sides, using fire and stone to divide us. The audience roared at the expected result. I stood outside the boundary. I could advise, but I could not fight. The group quest belonged to the students. Juno's threads flashed from wrist to wrist. 1 pull meant left. 2 meant right. A circle meant close formation. The scattered students folded into groups of 3. Healers dragged the fallen behind shields. Wind users filled the center with dust. Earth users broke the straight paths Rhea needed for her charge. She still reached our bell. Her sword touched the chain. A thread pulled the bell down through a narrow hole in the pillar. The crowd gasped. Juno had not tried to defend it on top. 2 Earth students had opened a space beneath it. 6 shield bearers formed a shell around the buried bell. Rhea smiled for the first time. "Good," she said. "Now attack mine." Her 4 teammates guarded their pillar. Our wind users drove dust toward them. A fire mage burned it away. The flame revealed 3 students rushing from the left. They were the distraction. Juno stood at our own pillar, more than 100 feet away. Her 4 threads were too short to reach the enemy bell. She tied each thread to the wrist of another student. Those students linked to 4 more with ropes. 18 people became one long hand. The last scout threw a hook around Rhea's bell. Juno pulled. Every link pulled at the same moment. The bell flew from its pillar, crossed the arena above the fighters, and landed in Juno's hands. The victory tone rang. For 2 seconds, the stands were silent. Then 1,000 people stood up. The crystal scoreboard changed F-class from gray to gold. Linked completion credit awarded 50 experience to every participant. 9 students leveled. Juno reached level 6. I received 90 experience and reached level 9. Hugo gripped the judge's rail. The red closure order attached to our office sign appeared above the arena, cracked down the center, and burned. He had created the public condition. The system enforced its failure in front of everyone. Nox stopped laughing. Rhea walked to Juno and took back the bell. "You beat us. Do not let anyone call it luck." She faced the stands and bowed to F-class. The captain of first team had verified our victory more clearly than any board could. An hour later, we defeated 6 wolves without injuring one. Juno warned the shields. The shields protected the Earth users, and the Earth users trapped the beasts. The shared credit gave each participant another 40 experience. My class passed level 10. Heat moved through my gray badge. Questmaker evolved into student commander. I gained no fireball and no magic sword. My participant limit rose from 20 to 100, and I could validate linked roles without standing beside each one. The public board displayed the class name. The crowd began chanting, "Commander Ezra." We then defeated a B-class team on moving platforms. 3 students reached level 5. Our combined total climbed from 59 to 87. Every seat was full, and green flags covered the stands. If we won, his claim that weak students wasted resources would collapse. Every teacher, donor, and student could see the numbers. The final was supposed to be a 10-minute defense against a Class D training golem. The team that protected its crystal longest would take the tournament prize. A horn sounded beneath the arena. The gate opened, and a Class B war golem walked out. It was 20 feet tall. Black armor covered its chest. Each fist was larger than our office desk. A red control crystal burned behind its face. It looked like a castle that had become tired of waiting for visitors. The cheers stopped. Rhea stood from the first team bench. "That is not the registered golem." Hugo raised the yard manual. "The training director may increase final difficulty when a team exceeds expected performance. A Class B golem can kill them. Then they may surrender." The quest mark on my badge turned red. Our main objective was still possible, but the risk had changed. If I ordered the students forward without a fair plan, the class I had built would fall. "We can withdraw," I told them. "You keep every level already earned." The pot helmet healer lifted his wooden shield. "If we stop, Hugo will say the first 3 wins were accidents." Juno looked at the packed stands. "Can we defeat it?" "No." Hugo smiled in the tower. "We do not need to defeat it," I continued. "We need to protect one crystal for 10 minutes. The warning on my badge faded from red to gold. The plan was fair enough for the quest. Opal placed the Academy crystal in the center of our formation. It was a blue sphere the size of an apple. The golem took its first step. The arena floor shook. The final bell rang. Earth walls shattered under the first punch. Shields flew. Juno's threads pulled 2 students clear before the golem's foot landed. Rhea and the defeated teams shouted warnings from the boundary. 1 minute passed. Wind users filled the joints with sand. The golem slowed, then heated its armor until the sand became glass. A backhand destroyed 3 barriers. 2 minutes passed. Our healers worked behind moving shields. Every successful rescue added shared experience. Light entered the students while they fought. One Earth user leveled and raised a thicker wall. The golem crushed it, but the wall stole 4 seconds. 3 minutes passed. Juno tied her threads around the Academy crystal. "Now," I called. 4 students threw ropes over the golem's shoulders. The crystal rose above its head. A wind burst carried it behind the black armor and dropped it into a narrow gap between the golem's shoulder blades. The golem turned left. The crystal moved with it. It turned right. The crystal remained behind it. For the first time that day, Hugo looked confused. The golem reached over its shoulder. Its arms were built to strike enemies, not scratch its own back. One stone hand waved above the crystal. The other hit its own head. Laughter rolled through the arena. 5 minutes passed. Knox ran up the judge's stairs. Increase the speed. Rhea heard him. So did the crystal recorder beside the tower. The golem should be automatic, she said. Knox froze. The war golem suddenly charged the wall. Juno moved the crystal from one shoulder to the other. It spun after the blue light, crossed its own feet, and crashed into the judge's tower. Hugo disappeared beneath his black cape as the platform tilted. A hidden control box fell from under his chair. Knox's bronze badge was connected to it by a red beam. The entire arena saw the beam. "Turn it off," Hugo ordered. Knox pressed the badge. The golem punched the tower instead. The judge's chair flew into the arena and landed on the golem's head. It continued turning, now wearing Hugo's expensive chair like a wooden hat. 7 minutes passed. The students were exhausted, but linked credit kept recognizing every rescue, barrier, signal, and second of protection. My level rose to 12, then 14. My mana increased, but I had no attack to spend it on. I sent the strength where it mattered, validating each roll so no support action was lost. 8 minutes passed. The golem tore the crystal free with 2 fingers. Juno pulled all 4 threads. It was too heavy. Her feet slid across the sand. 18 students grabbed the linked ropes. The whole team pulled. The crystal stopped 1 inch from the golem's fist. 9 minutes passed. Hugo climbed from the broken tower. His cape covered his face. "Knox, destroy the crystal." Knox struck the control badge. Rhea cut the red beam. The golem froze. "Interfering with the tournament is forbidden," Hugo shouted. Rhea held up the severed control wire. "So is controlling an automatic golem." The crystal recorder replayed Knox's order and Hugo's response across the arena. 10 minutes passed. The final bell rang. F-Class won the Academy tournament. Experience struck us like warm rain. Each participant received 200 for the final and a 100-point victory bonus. Juno rose to level 9. The combined F-Class total passed 140. I received 540 experience from 18 linked participants. My class rose from level 14 to level 18. My public rank jumped from 412 to 73. The stands shook under the reaction. Students threw green flags into the air. Teachers stared at the scoreboard. Donors in the front box copied the experience totals. Hugo's entire argument had been broken into numbers and displayed above his head. Director Theo entered the arena. He looked at the control box, the recording crystal, and Hugo, who still had part of his cape wrapped around one ear. "You endangered students to protect your theory," Theo said. Hugo straightened. "I protected the Academy's funding. You just gave the funding committee a recording of a fixed tournament." For the first time, Hugo had no answer. Theo removed the training director seal from his armor. The scoreboard changed his title to suspended instructor before more than 1,000 witnesses. Hugo walked from the arena through a corridor of students he had called useless. No one moved aside quickly. He had to turn sideways and squeeze past the broken post marked F-Class. The tournament prize was 500 silver. 450 erased the debt attached to my office. 50 remained as our first real operating fund. 580 silver of debt had become 50 silver of resources in 3 days. My class had risen from nothing to level 18. The assignment office was no longer a punishment. It was the most crowded door in Raven Academy. That evening, the dining hall served victory food. Crisp chicken cracked under my fork. Herb rice carried butter and lemon. Pepper sauce warmed my mouth without burning it. Juno built a wall from 3 apple pies and defended it from the other students with 9 mana threads. Cleo and I escaped to the office with 2 slices. She cleaned a small cut on my hand where the quest pen had split my skin. Her fingers were warm. "You did not enter the arena," she said, "but you look more tired than they do." I counted every roll for 10 minutes. "You also forgot to breathe for 9 of them." She wrapped my hand with clean cloth. Neither of us moved away when she finished. The door opened. Opal stood there with the black journal. "The deadline lost another day," she said. Silver ink showed 2 sunsets remaining. Theo's name had grown darker. Beneath it, a new line stated that an owner could be defeated by death, surrender, or loss under Academy law. That was the first useful weakness the journal had revealed. Trumpets sounded outside. We returned to the main hall. 12 soldiers in white armor had entered through the academy gates. A man in a red imperial coat stood beneath the ranking board. His name was Seth. An inspector's seal floated above his hand. Hugo stood behind him. Seth pressed a red notice onto the board. Every golden quest mark in the hall dimmed. Raven Academy has allowed an unlicensed student to create system assignments, he announced. Its quest authority is suspended. By tomorrow's sunset, the Academy will pay a license bond of 5,000 silver or surrender its charter, dungeon, and student contracts to the Imperial Academy Board. His gaze found me in the crowd. Secretary Ezra, place your seal on the floor and kneel. I did not kneel. Seth waited under the ranking board while more students entered the hall. He was about 40, with smooth black hair and a smile that never reached his eyes. 6 Imperial fighters stood behind him. Their white armor carried the mark of the Academy Board. Did you misunderstand? He asked. No. I was checking whether your order contained a measurable goal, a deadline, and a reward. It contains none of them. Someone in the crowd laughed. Seth's smile became thinner. This is not one of your little quests. Then I decline. The hall filled with whispers. Yesterday, an Imperial inspector could have ordered any first-year student to crawl. Today, 1,000 witnesses had watched F-Class defeat a war golem. Public belief did not change the law, but it changed how boldly a man could abuse it. Seth lifted his red seal. Pressure filled the hall. Several younger students bent at the knees. My gray badge burned against it, but I remained upright. My class was level 18. I still had no combat skill, yet authority was a kind of strength. It did not let me cut stone. It let me keep my spine straight when an official wanted it folded. You owe 5,000 silver by tomorrow's sunset, Seth said. Your office owns 50. Pride is expensive when purchased on credit. Why is the bond 5,000? That is the rate for unauthorized quest activity. Cleo opened the Imperial rulebook she had carried from the office. The listed bond is 500. Seth did not look at her. Raven Academy also owes review costs, dungeon insurance, and a late registration penalty. The late penalty was added this morning, she said. Then you should have paid yesterday. His motive sat in those extra zeros. The board did not want a license fee. It wanted default. Raven Academy stood above a dungeon that produced more than 3,000 silver and crystals each year. If the charter fell, the board could take the dungeon for the price of 1 red notice. Opal stepped beside me. Academy Charter, Article 21. A school unable to pay a disputed bond may request a field evaluation equal to the disputed value. Seth finally looked annoyed. Hugo leaned close to him and whispered. Seth's smile returned. Very well, the inspector said. My 6 evaluators will face the tournament champions. No A-class student may assist. If F-class wins, I will issue a provisional quest license and release the inspection reserve held in your name. If they lose, the charter transfers tonight. Students reacted to the last sentence. Seth had removed even the extra day. How large is the reserve? I asked. 1,500 silver. Deposit the license and reserve as the evaluation reward. He laughed. You cannot create quests while suspended. Then signing cost you nothing. That ended his easiest escape. Cleo prepared one form on the main council table. The objective was for our 18 tournament champions to defend the council seal for 15 minutes against Seth's 6 evaluators. Leaving the marked square counted as defeat. Outside attacks were forbidden. The reward was the provisional license and the Academy's existing reserve. Seth would verify the result and could not withdraw deposited property after acceptance. The conditions were simple enough for everyone in the hall to understand. Seth read them. Your students have a combined level of 143. My team has a combined level of 198. We have 3 times as many participants. The system will decide whether it is fair. He signed with a red flourish. The Imperial seal released 1 white spark. I added my gray seal. For a heartbeat, the red suspension notice pressed against the form. Then the paper flashed gold and burned through it. The quest bell rang 18 times. Seth's smile vanished. My ability did not come from the Academy license. The license had only given other people a reason to accept it. The system recognized my assignments because I carried the office and paid real rewards. A capital seal could punish the academy. It could not convince the system that truth was false. The crowd erupted. Golden light drew a line around Seth's signature. The system named him official verifier and bound him to the stated conditions. If he interfered, he would validate his own violation. That consequence was worth more than the license. The evaluation began at noon in the central square. Every balcony, stair, and roof held spectators. Teachers brought recording crystals. Food sellers pushed carts to the edge of the marked field. One had already renamed his red fruit drink Inspector Juice. Our council seal stood on a narrow pillar in the center. 18 F-class students formed 3 rings around it. Juno's 9 threads connected the group leaders. Ria watched from the boundary with first team. She could not help, but her presence told everyone the restriction was being respected. Seth's 6 fighters entered together. Their captain carried a tower shield. 2 battle mages walked behind him. A chain fighter covered each side. The final evaluator wore healer's white. "Begin," Seth ordered. The tower shield struck the first ring like a moving wall. 4 F-class defenders flew backward. Wind magic hit before they landed. The first minute cost us 2 shields and 1 earth barrier. The Imperial team did not chase individuals. They moved as a trained wedge, protecting their healer and focusing on the seal. They were not fools sent to make Seth look strong. They were professionals sent to take our home. Juno's threads pulled our outer ring aside. The wedge passed through an opening and met the second ring from both sides. Earth rose under the rear fighter. Wind pushed the front. The straight formation bent. The crowd shouted as our shield bearers closed around it. One battle mage lifted both hands. White static filled the square. Juno's mana threads disappeared. An anti-link spell. Our communication broke in the 3rd minute. The Imperial fighters separated and attacked 6 points at once. Students shouted conflicting warnings. One chain wrapped around the seal pillar. Seth folded his arms. A team that depends on one thread is not a team. He was right. That was why we had practiced signals after the tournament. Juno raised an empty hand. Shield bearers watched her fingers. Earth users watched the shields. Wind users watched the earth. The message moved through people instead of magic. The first chain missed the pillar by an inch. 4 minutes passed. The pot helmet healer blocked a spell. The handle of his helmet caught the enemy chain and pulled the weapon from its owner. The crowd laughed, but he did not. He kicked the chain toward an earth user, who buried it under stone. Shared quest credit rewarded both of them. 5 minutes passed. The Imperial captain reached the inner ring. His shield skill opened a path wide enough for 3 fighters. Juno could not restore her threads. She ran into the gap herself. The shield hit her. She crossed her arms and wrapped 9 dead threads around the metal edge. The anti-link field blocked mana communication. It did not remove the physical strands she had already created. Juno swung under the shield and tied it to the captain's boots. He took 1 step and fell forward like a door removed from its wall. The eastern balcony screamed her name. 7 minutes passed. The enemy healer dispelled the knots. Both mages combined fire and wind. A spiral of flame crossed the square. Our outer ring split. 3 students left the marked boundary to avoid it and were eliminated. 15 remained. The system awarded experience for every second the seal remained protected. Small streams entered my badge. My level rose to 19, then 20. I could not shout a perfect answer into existence. I watched. The Imperial formation always protected its healer. When the healer moved left, every fighter adjusted. That was their strength. It was also a rope tied around 6 waists. "Do not block them," I called. "Move the goal." Cleo looked at me. "The seal must remain in the square." "The square is 40 feet wide." Juno understood first. 2 earth users tilted the pillar. Wind caught the council seal before it fell. The blue disc flew across the marked field. The Imperial wedge turned after it. Juno ran the other way. Her threads had begun glowing again at their tips. The anti-link spell weakened when the mages moved. The seal landed on a new stone pillar at the western edge. The enemy healer changed direction. All 5 protectors followed. Their perfect formation traveled across the square while our students struck its sides. 9 minutes passed. The seal flew east. 10 minutes passed. It flew north. The Imperial captain began breathing hard. His tower shield was designed to advance, not chase a blue plate around a field like a large, angry waiter. 11 minutes passed. Seth raised his red seal. Power gathered inside it. Cleo pointed at the golden line around his signature. "Outside attacks are forbidden." "I am strengthening my evaluators," he said. "That is inspection authority, not an attack." "You signed as verifier, not participant." He released the power. Red light crossed the boundary and entered the Imperial captain. The quest bell gave one hard note. Seth's signature turned black. The system asked the official verifier whether outside aid had entered the field. Because the truth had been recorded by his own seal, he could not answer falsely. His mouth opened, but the seal spoke first. It confirmed the violation. The red power vanished from the team. Seth's inspector title flickered above him. Nearly 1,000 witnesses shouted at once. 12 minutes passed. The Imperial captain looked toward Seth. That single glance broke his timing. Juno's threads returned in a burst. 9 lines wrapped around the council seal and lifted it above the formation. The students moved as one circle. 13 minutes passed. The enemy mages spent their last mana on a storm. Shields cracked. 2 more students crossed the boundary. 1 healer fell, and 3 defenders carried him without leaving anyone isolated. The group condition held. 14 minutes passed. The tower shield struck the final pillar. Stone exploded. The council seal spun through the air. Juno jumped. The Imperial captain jumped higher. The pot helmet healer threw his helmet. The iron pot struck the seal first and changed its path by 6 inches. Juno caught it against her chest as the final bell rang. F-class remained inside the square. The quest was complete. The reaction hit before my feet touched the ground. Students filled the balconies with green flags. The ranking crystal projected the result across every tower. Rhea raised her sword in salute. Even the Imperial fighters lowered their heads to Juno. They had lost fairly, and they knew it. Each participant earned 500 experience for the evaluation. Juno rose from level 9 to 14. The lowest student reached level 7. I received 900 experience and climbed from level 20 to level 27. My public rank moved from 73 to 12. The system transferred the provisional quest license to my gray seal. 1,500 silver returned to the Academy account. Our operating resources rose from 50 to 1,550 silver in a single afternoon. Seth stepped toward me. The evaluation is void. I am the inspector. He reached for the red seal attached to the reward clause. The golden line around his signature tightened. Seth was pulled forward. His boots crossed the wet stones beside the fountain. He grabbed the statue. His long red coat caught on its raised spear, and the rest of him swung into the water. The fountain erupted around the Imperial Inspector. For 1 perfect second, a silver fish from the fountain basin landed on his head. The square exploded with laughter. He tore the coat free and stood waist-deep in water. His inspector title dimmed to provisional reviewer. The system had not removed him because we disliked him. It had reduced him because he violated the evaluation he had signed. That distinction made the humiliation permanent. Hugo tried to leave through the crowd. Students turned together and looked at him. He stopped, changed direction, and walked behind the fountain instead. Seth pointed at me with water running from his sleeve. The board will overturn this. Then it can sign the next evaluation. Recording crystals carried my answer across the academy. By sunset, our quest marks burned brighter than before the suspension. The license was real. The reserve was real. So were the levels. Raven Academy had defeated a capital inspector using the rule he expected to weaponize. Cleo found me in the kitchen after the celebration began. I had escaped the main hall before a seller could ask me to approve Inspector Fish as an official meal. She placed roasted river fish on 2 plates. The skin was crisp with salt. Soft white meat separated under the fork. Buttered potatoes sat beside it, covered with herbs and cream sauce. For dessert, she had saved a berry tart with a warm center and a thin sugar crust. 1,550 silver, she said. Your first inventory had 3 copper. The money belongs to the office. I know. That is why I trust you near it. We ate beside the kitchen stove. The heat turned the windows white. Outside, students sang F-class songs badly and loudly. Cleo touched the repaired glove on my right hand. You could leave now. The license would earn you a position in any royal guild. The quest deadline would follow me. That was not my question. I looked at her. She had challenged Hugo before she knew I could create quests. She had given away her lunch before she knew I could win. She had been the first person in this world to see a stolen number and say it aloud. I am not leaving you with the debt, the mice, or the academy. Her smile was small and warm. She leaned closer. The founder's bell rang before our faces met. Every flame in the kitchen turned blue. We ran to the main courtyard. Students filled it, carrying plates and flags. Opal stood at the front with the black journal open in her hands. Director Theo waited on the academy steps. 30 years ago, I completed the same legacy quest, he said. His voice crossed the courtyard without magic. I defeated the previous owner and accepted Raven Academy as the reward. The ownership seal has remained in the secretary's journal ever since. Each owner holds it only until a new secretary wins. Silver chains appeared across the towers. The board created the failure clause, Theo continued. It has waited 30 years for a weak secretary to lose. I kept the office empty when I could. I drove challengers away when I could not. Opal's face became pale. The missing secretaries. One fled. 2 challenged me. Both survived, but the journal erased their academy contracts and memories when they surrendered. He drew his sword. Ezra will not surrender. If he becomes owner, the board will attack through the founder's debt. So I will defeat him before the quest can transfer Raven Academy. The gates slammed shut. Stone figures tore themselves from every tower. 100 Academy Guardians landed around the courtyard. Their eyes burned blue. The mandatory quest entered its final phase. Theo's hidden level appeared above him. Level 70. He pointed his sword at me before the entire Academy. Reach the Founder's Bell before sunset tomorrow, he said, if you can. 100 Stone Guardians surrounded us. Theo was level 70. I was level 27 and owned 1 pen. The pen was still the most dangerous. Students who help Ezra will lose their academy contracts, Theo announced. Return to your rooms. This challenge belongs to the secretary. No one moved. Rhea drew her silver sword. Juno raised 9 threads. The F-class students formed around me without receiving an order. Do not fight tonight, I said. Several faces turned toward me in shock. The Guardians are not attacking. Theo gave us until tomorrow. We used the time he gave us. Theo watched from the steps. A night will not close 43 levels. I know. Then what will you do? Inventory. The students laughed. Theo did not. We returned to the assignment office under a guard of stone figures. The room could hold 12 people if nobody wanted to breathe. Nearly 300 students waited outside, so Cleo moved the ledgers to the dining hall. Opal searched the founder's charter. Rhea mapped every Guardian route. Juno used her threads to hang records above the tables. I read the legacy quest again. The reward was Raven Academy. It had already been deposited. The victory condition was defeat by death, surrender, or loss under Academy law. Theo's public challenge had created the third path. If I rang the Founder's Bell before sunset, Academy law would record his loss. I did not need to defeat level 70. I needed to cross 1 school. At midnight, Opal found the resource we needed. The council controlled 100 emergency scholarships. Each provided 1 term of tuition, a dormitory bed, and daily meals. Each was worth 60 silver. The fund could not pay our old debt or buy weapons. It existed only to protect students during an academy emergency. An ownership challenge was listed as an emergency. 6,000 silver in real rights, Cleo said. Enough for a dangerous group assignment. Theo threatened to expel anyone who joins, Juno said. Opal placed 1 finger on the next line. During an ownership challenge, students mobilized by the council could not be expelled until the result was final. Theo had ruled Raven Academy for 30 years. He had forgotten that the council charter could still bite him. I wrote the final assignment. 100 students would escort the current secretary from the eastern yard to the Founder's Bell. The quest would end when I rang it, or at sunset. Students could withdraw at any point. At least 80 had to remain active for group completion. The reward was 1 emergency scholarship for every participant. 100 was the maximum my student commander class could link. More than 200 students volunteered. I chose roles, not ranks. Rhea led the front. Juno carried signals. Opal controlled routes. Cleo remained beside me as validator. Students from every class filled the units. Knox appeared at the edge of the crowd. He had lost his elite badge after the tournament. His public rank had fallen below 200. Do you need another sword? He asked. Juno stared at him. Can you follow a plan? I asked. His face tightened. Nearly 300 witnesses waited for his answer. Yes. Then sign. He became the 100th participant. Hugo had taught Knox that status came from standing above weaker people. Public failure had taught him how quickly that platform could break. I did not trust him yet. A fair quest did not require trust. It required a clear role and a consequence everyone understood. The system examined the assignment for a long time. My badge turned warm, then painfully hot. Theo could defeat me with 1 strike. The Guardians outnumbered us. The route was dangerous, but withdrawal was allowed. The reward existed. The goal did not require killing anyone. 100 students had enough combined strength to create a real chance. The quest bell rang 100 times across Raven Academy. Every tower answered. The audience outside the dining hall erupted. Quest marks appeared over red, green, blue, and gray uniforms. For the first time in school history, every class carried the same objective. Theo stood alone on the director's balcony. He could have canceled the emergency scholarships with owner authority. He raised his hand to do it. The founder's charter flashed gold. The quest rejected his order because the reward had already been deposited. The first crack appeared in the blue chains around the towers. 300 students saw it. Theo lowered his hand. At dawn, he said. We had one warm meal before the battle. The cooks filled the hall with cinnamon, butter, and fresh bread. We ate honey rolls, fried eggs, crisp bacon, and warm oats covered with apples. Cleo poured cinnamon milk into my cup. Around us, students checked shields and shared food. Ria cut one honey roll into 4 equal pieces for her scouts. Juno used her threads to steal bacon from the pot helmet healer. He protected his plate better than he had protected the tournament crystal. For a few minutes, we were not an army. We were students eating breakfast at home. Cleo sat close enough for her sleeve to touch mine. When this ends, she said, I want a door on the office that does not fall off. That is an expensive dream. We have 1,550 silver. The office has it. Then the office wants a door. I smiled. Approved. At sunrise, the eastern gate opened. Our route began in the repaired training yard. 20 guardians dropped from the wall as soon as we crossed the first marker. Their stone swords struck the barrier between our 6 restored posts. Blue light held. The same yard Hugo had called worthless stopped the first wave. Earth users locked guardian feet to the ground. Wind users turned their balance. Ria's forward group struck glowing joints instead of stone armor. Nox protected 2 F-class scouts and did not move ahead of his assigned line. Juno's threads carried orders through all 5 units. The first guardian fell after 40 seconds. The crowd watching from the walls shouted as shared credit awarded experience to every roll that had created the opening. More guardians fell. The repaired posts cracked one by one, but they bought 6 minutes. We left 20 stone bodies in the yard and advanced with 98 active participants. Their total earned experience sent 600 points into my class. I rose to level 30. The ranking board projected our progress above the towers. Citizens gathered outside the academy gates. Recording crystals carried the challenge into the city square. Theo's defeat or victory would not become a hidden line in a journal. The entire city would verify it. 30 guardians met us between the dining hall tables. The cooks had removed every plate but left 3 barrels of oil beside the doors. That seems unsafe, Cleo said. Only if someone opens them. Juno opened all 3 with her threads. Oil crossed the floor. Stone feet slid. The front guardians crashed into the rear. One landed in a soup pot with its legs pointing upward. The watching students laughed even while our shield line charged. We did not destroy every guardian. We trapped 11 behind overturned tables and closed the iron kitchen doors. The goal was the bell, not a collection of stone heads. Theo changed the academy corridors. The western stair folded into a wall. The central hall stretched until its far door looked 1 mile away. Blue owner chains pulled the tower away from us. Opal opened the charter while running. The council controls evacuation routes during an emergency, she said. She pressed her seal to the floor. A narrow servant's passage opened behind the ranking board. The owner could move grand corridors. He had forgotten the path used to carry dirty plates. We entered in a line. Guardians followed one at a time, and Ria struck each glowing joint at the exit. Theo had more strength. We had better traffic control. By midday, we reached the Founder's Tower with 93 active participants. The group had earned more than 12,000 experience. My 1/10 share pushed Student Commander from level 30 to level 33. My mana and authority rose. My strength remained lower than Ria's. The tower doors opened. Theo stood alone inside. The Founder's bell hung 200 steps above him. Blue chains crossed the spiral stair. 70 stone guardians waited on the balconies. Some were the same ones we had trapped. The academy had pulled them through its walls. You used every weak place in my school, Theo said. We used every part you stopped seeing. His sword left its sheath. One silver cut crossed the entrance. Ria blocked it. Her sword broke in the middle. The remaining force threw her into 3 shield bearers. The viewing crystal showed the strike to the entire courtyard. Theo had been waiting because he was stronger than every guardian. Withdraw, he told the students. Your scholarships remain if Ezra surrenders. The system marked the statement as a new offer, not an order. No one accepted. Ria stood with half a sword. Forward group, advance. The tower became a storm of stone and blue light. Students fought for one step at a time. Shields broke. Healers dragged the fallen into side rooms. Juno's threads carried warnings between floors. Opal used old council doors to shorten turns. Cleo stayed beside me with the reward ledger pressed to her chest. Nox took a guardian strike meant for Juno. His armor cracked, but he remained inside the tower. The system verified his role. Golden light raised him one level in front of everyone who had watched him steal my badge. He looked at the light, then at me. I earned that. Yes. For once, he did not need anything else. We reached the first balcony with 88 participants. Theo cut the stair behind us. 8 students jumped back and withdrew before it fell. 80 remained, the exact minimum. The quest mark turned gold. Theo saw it. He attacked me directly. Rhea caught his arm with her broken sword. Juno wrapped 9 threads around his wrist. Nox locked both hands around his shoulder. 20 shield bearers formed a wall between us. Theo moved one step. The wall broke. He moved a second. Earth covered his boots. Wind struck his back. Mana threads pulled his sword aside. He still kept coming. I climbed. Every completed roll produced experience. Every second of delay belonged to the group objective. My badge filled faster than it ever had. Level 34. Level 35. Student Commander evolved into Master of the Academy Guild. The cheat did not change. My assignment still required fair goals and real rewards. I still received 1/10. The evolution only recognized that an entire academy had accepted one purpose under my seal. Theo broke through the final shield line when I was 20 steps from the bell. He placed his blade against my back. The tower became silent. Through the viewing crystals, more than 1,000 witnesses saw him stop me. You are level 35, Theo said. I am level 70. Planning cannot erase that. I never planned to erase it. Juno's threads tightened around my wrists. Ropes linked those threads to every active student below us. I plan to use 100 people. Theo turned. Pull, I said. 80 students pulled together. I left the stairs. Theo's blade cut empty air. I flew over the final 20 steps like a stone launched from a sling. My shoulder struck the bell. My gray seal hit the bronze. The founder's bell rang. Its sound crossed Raven Academy, the city, and the dungeon below us. Every stone guardian stopped. The blue chains around the towers shattered into light. Director Theo's sword fell from his hand. The legacy quest declared his loss under Academy law before more than 1,000 witnesses. He sank to one knee as the owner seal left his chest and entered my gray badge. Theo looked up at me. He did not appear angry. He appeared tired. Protect them better than I did, he said. Help me. The request surprised him more than the bell. You defeated me. That does not make your experience worthless. It makes your ownership finished. He lowered his head. Then I surrender Raven Academy. The mandatory quest completed. 100 participants received their emergency scholarships and a 500-point completion award. Their combined experience sent 5,000 points into my class. Because higher levels required more, I rose only once more, to level 36. I had not become the strongest fighter. Rhea could still defeat me with a spoon if she moved quickly. But my authority covered Raven Academy, and 100 students had proven what that meant. The ownership reward entered my control. The Academy treasury opened. It held 40,000 silver for repairs, teachers, food, and training. None of it became my personal money. The school finally had resources its former owner had been unable to release while bound by the legacy contract. Then the founder's debt appeared. The Imperial Academy Board claimed 10,000 gold and immediate seizure rights. Students below the tower fell silent. I opened the completed quest record. The reward had to exist before the assignment, I said. Cleo understood. A property under an undeclared seizure claim could not have been deposited as a complete reward. The system examined the board's debt. It found no declaration in the original quest. The claim had been added 11 years after Theo became owner. The board could seize Raven Academy only if the legacy quest failed. It had never possessed a valid lien against a successful winner. The debt burned away. Imperial collection notices turned to ash. 80 students shouted. Hundreds answered below. The public board removed the board's mark and placed one line above every ranking. Raven Academy, Independent Academic Guild. Owner, Ezra. 5 days earlier, I had been publicly ranked last with 3 copper and 600 silver of stolen debt. Now my class was level 36. My academy controlled 40,000 silver in resources, and the people who had laughed at my gray badge were cheering beneath my name. Strength, resources, status. All three had changed because weak students had been given work worth recognizing. That evening, we held one final meal in the repaired eastern yard. Long tables carried roast chicken covered in herbs, bowls of buttered vegetables, fresh bread with crisp brown crusts, and thick slices of cinnamon cake. The cooks placed a blue sugar slime on top of Juno's cake. Nox refused to sit near it. Rhea received a new silver sword from the academy store. Opal burned the hidden journal cabinet and kept the journal itself in full view on the council table. Theo returned without the owner's seal and sat among the teachers, looking 10 years younger. Cleo found me beside the new office door. It was straight, polished, and strong enough to survive an angry boar. The office spent 12 silver on it, she said. An irresponsible luxury. The owner approved it. Then the owner has excellent judgment. She took my repaired glove off and held my hand. You still owe me something. We cleared the debt. Not that. This time, no founder's bell interrupted us. She kissed me under the assignment office sign while students in the yard cheered for reasons that had nothing to do with rankings. For one quiet minute, the story could have ended there. Then the black journal opened on the council table. A new system quest had been issued across the empire. The objective was to capture Raven Academy's new owner alive. The reward was 100,000 silver and a capital quest license. The issuer was the Imperial Academy Board. 9 royal academies had already accepted.